There are two main forms of monasticism in the Judean Desert, the Lavra and the Coinobion. The Lavra, also called Lavra, means solitude. It's a form of abstinence. A group of monks would retire on weekdays, secluded from the world from Monday to Friday, and meet in a common place only on Saturday and Sundays. Those are days of prayer. The meeting was for the purpose of prayer, eating together, and the replacement of what they produced with raw materials for work during the coming week. The term Lavra comes from Greek and means corridor or path, and it probably represents the path that connects the individual cells of its members and the common place where they met on Saturday and Sunday. Lavras developed during the 4th and 5th centuries in the land of Israel as a combination of solitude and living together. It was a solution for those monks who did not want to live in a convent, which is a restrictive, cooperative framework, but wanted to be part of a community. Gerasimus' Lavra monks lived among other locations in the secluded cells few tens of meters from here, and we will visit that just in a couple of minutes. Coinobion in Greek or cenobion in Latin means living together. It is a communal monastery where monks live, study, pray and eat while living together. A few hundreds meters from here, we will visit today two places representing the two forms of monasticism. As for our location, we are in Wadi Nahil, 4 kilometers north of the Dead Sea, 2 kilometers west of the Jordan River, and a few hundred meters from Deir Hajla Monastery, dedicated to Gerasimus. The evolution of the monasteries in this area in the 5th century is related to Gerasimus, referred to as a founder and patron of the Jordan Valley region, a title that belonged to only two other monks, Euthemius and Sabas. Gerasimus came from Lycia in Anatolia and thus continued the traditions of monks and founders of monasteries in the Judean Desert, such as Charison the Confessor, Euthemius, Theodosius and Sabas, who also came from the same region. Gerasimus, who was already experienced with monasticism life, founded in 455 a new kind of Lavra. In its center, between the solitary cells, he established a Coinobion. Very few remains from that Coinobion were discovered about 300 meters from the current location of the monastery. Gerasimus set up his Lavra around my current location, about 2 kilometers from Jordan River, what resolved the issue of water source. The palm trees, as you can see, growing here, provided dates, and the date branches were used for weaving baskets. Let's go to the cells. We are in the area that is part of Gerasimus Lavra. There is a small chapel here. A chapel is a niche or a small space used in Christianity as a kind of a small church for personal service. At the end of the chapel, there are several caves rooms. Their size on average is 2 by 3 meters. Between the cells connects a narrow and long corridor, but to each cell there is a separate entrance designed to ensure privacy. These rock-hewn cave-like cells illustrate the nickname given to the monks of Gerasimus, the inhabitants of the caves. The monks were engaged in various crafts such as weaving ropes or baskets that were sold to the inhabitants of the area. Each of them would bring his products to the Coinobion on Saturday. On Saturday and Sunday, after attending the prayers, he would eat cooked food as well as sipping some wine, and all together would hold the psalm singing ceremony. On Sunday afternoon, the monk would take the weekly supplies, bread, dates, water, and return to his cell. Gerasimus' famous regulation for the hermits limited their property to a minimum that was necessary for their existence. None of them had anything in their cell but one cloak, one hood, one mat, a quilt, a pillow, and one pottery urn in which he both ate and wet the palms. The regulation forbade them to light a fire or even a candle. In its physical form and internal organization, Gerasimus Lavra set a model for establishing other monasteries in the Jericho area, such as the Coinobion Monastery in the Prat Stream, also known as St. George Monastery. We are in the monastery of Deir Hajla, also known as the Monastery of St. Gerasimus, who is located close to the original location of the Coinobion run by Gerasimus in the 5th century. Today it is a Greek Orthodox monastery dedicated to Saint Gerasimus, who established the Lavra we've just visited. The name of the monastery preserves the name of the biblical settlement of Beit Hogla, which is mentioned in the book of Joshua chapter 15 as the eastmost border between the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. According to the map of Madaba from the 6th century, such a settlement did indeed exist in the Byzantine period. The Christian identifies the place as one of the places where Miriam, Joseph, and Jesus stopped to spend the night on the way to Egypt while fleeing from King Herod, and also as the site of Jesus' baptism in Jordan River by John the Baptist, which occurred just opposite Qasr El Yahud, 4 kilometers north from where we are. As with any Coinobion, it includes a church, storage room, a dining room, a kitchen, and also a living wing, which, by the way, this is where we are. And the living wing is used by the head of the monastery and various office bearers, such as the place manager, the pastor, and their assistants. The role of the Coinobion was to provide for the needs of the hermits who lived around it, but at the same time train young monks for the life in the Lavra. The end of the monasticism of the Judean Desert was influenced by the Arab conquest in the first half of the 7th century CE. In 614, the place was destroyed by the Persians, who invaded Israel and damaged many Christian sites. After the conquest of the land by the Arab in 640, the monastery was restored, but seems to have been destroyed and rebuilt several times over the centuries. Many parts of the structure today are restoration and addition to the original Crusader structure, which has been damaged over the years, mainly by earthquakes. The last comprehensive renovation was carried out in 1890, following a severe damage suffered by the building in an earthquake that occurred in 1837. The large church in the monastery is located in a wide hall with a large dome, coated with metal and prominent in the distance. The walls of the church and its thick columns are decorated with mural and paintings, some ancient and some restored. Most of the paintings show important monks who lived in the area during the Byzantine period. And to conclude this video, as usual, a question for you. Very close to here, near the Jordan River, a prophet who lived in the 9th century BCE ascended to heaven. Who is the prophet? The answer will appear in 5 seconds.